Question 18, number pattern. This number pattern question not that difficult, but you must be able to identify the pattern. And what's the first clear pattern that you can see? Total number of triangles and circles. Anytime you see numbers like 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, so on and so forth, what kind of numbers are there? Are they? They are your square numbers. Okay, you are always taught that you must recognize your square number pattern. What is a square number pattern? Square number pattern means something times something, the same number multiplied by itself. And you can see in this case, so clearly this is 6 times 6 to give you 36. Always try to identify the relationship between this number and this number. Okay, in this case, you see there's figure number plus 1, then you square it. Okay. Then any other pattern that you can observe? You see that this is a consecutive increase. This is plus 3, plus 2. Then this is plus 4. This is plus 3. This is plus 5. This is plus 4. All right, that is what you see, right? That is what a lot of students will indicate in the diagram, but it's actually not useful. No, that's not the pattern that is useful. What is the pattern that is useful? The pattern that is useful in this case, what you really want is the difference. You want to find the difference between the two numbers. In this case, you realize the number of triangles will always be more than the number of circles. You see that the difference is 4, and therefore this must be 20. This must be 16. So Mr. Stowe covered the 2019 paper with you all before. The 2019 paper requires you to figure out that there's a pattern between the difference of the two, the shaded and unshaded triangles. This is a 2016 paper. You realize that they have already tested the idea that there's a difference. You are supposed to be able to visualize what the difference between the two types of pattern is, which is also exactly what this question is testing. So PSLE don't usually test you entirely brand new things. So this being a difference concept has already been tested in 2016. Then they test it again in 2019, but still a lot of students struggle in the 2019 paper. Why? Because never do TYS, never do past year exam papers. The idea that you need to look at the difference has already been tested in 2016. That's why it's important to do your past year papers. Okay? In fact, the Helen and Ivan question, if you have done your 2015 paper, you realize that there's a 2015 question that is very, very similar to the Helen and Ivan question. It's not a brand new concept either. Okay? So part A, quite straightforward, 2016 and 36. Part B is 9, figure 9. And part C is 2, 7, 0, 4. Now, part A, I already showed you how to do part B. A figure in the pattern has a total of 100 triangles and circles. What is the figure number? So part B, this is total. So you should realize that first thing you need to do is to square root 100. When you square root 100, you get 10. But this is where identifying the relationship is important. You realize that 10 times 10, but you need to minus 1 to get the figure number. Okay, so while it's a square number pattern, is your figure number plus 1. So in order to find the figure number, you need to minus 1. So look at the blue color highlighted part. That is the relationship between your figure number and your square. So you can see that it's a minus 1. Okay. Part C. Another figure in the pattern has 50 more triangles than circles. In other words, they're telling you the difference is 50. So when you look at the difference here, in figure 1, the difference is 0. In figure 2, the difference is 1. So what do you notice about the difference? The difference is your figure number minus 1. So the first part that you can figure out is what the figure number here is. The figure number is 50 plus 1. Because your difference is minus 1 from the figure number. That means to find the figure number, you need to plus 1 instead. So that will give you the figure number. Okay. The second thing you need to remember, from the figure number, this number, the square number over here is plus 1 again. So you need to take 51 plus 1 first to give you 52. Then you take 52 times 52. So the question is a little bit complicated here because to get the figure number, you need to plus 1 from the difference. To get the figure number, you need to plus 1 to the difference, but to get the square, you need to plus 1 again. All right. So be very, very careful. So this is an example of a pattern that requires you to compare the difference between the two things, which was tested again in 2019, like I mentioned. PSLE questions repeat themselves in terms of what they test you. So always treat your PSLE practices seriously. Why do I take 50 as the pattern number? The difference here is 50. That is not my pattern number. What do you notice about the difference in figure 1? Jonathan, what's the difference in figure 1? How does it relate to the figure number? Figure number minus 1 to get 0. What's the difference in the second pattern? The difference is 1. How do you get 1? Figure number minus 1. Okay, so if your difference is 50, what will your figure number be? Your figure number will be plus 1, not minus 1, plus 1. That's why you know the figure number is 51. Okay, these are patterns that you need to be able to observe from the table. Okay, the difference is your figure number minus 1. In other words, to find the figure number from the difference, you have to plus 1 instead, working backwards. That is how you figure out that the figure number is 51. All right. Then from the square number, you have to figure out that is the number, figure number plus 1 more time. That's why I have to take 51, which is the figure number, and then I need to plus 1 again, because to get my square, I need to plus 1 first, then I can square it. So students who have done the 2016 PSLE paper will have understood how to do the 2019 PSLE number pattern question. All right, take your PSLE practices seriously because you realize that the same type of question are always being repeated.